I was in the kitchen, slicing up a lemon for my drink, when Emily strolled in, humming. She looked too happy. Not the kind of happy that comes from a good day at work or finding $20 in an old jacket. No, this was something else. Something calculated. She leaned against the counter, watching me, fingers drumming lightly on the marble surface. "We need to talk," she said, her voice light, almost playful. I didn't look up. The last time she'd used that phrase, she convinced me to adopt a dog I didn't want. "Talk about what?" I asked, tossing the lemon slice into my glass. Emily stepped closer, reaching for my arm like she was about to deliver some world-altering revelation. "I think we should try an open relationship." My hand froze on the counter. The words didn't register at first. I actually laughed, thinking she was joking. But when I turned to look at her, she wasn't smiling. She was watching me carefully, waiting for my reaction like a scientist observing a lab rat. "What?" My voice came out sharp, the air between us suddenly thick. "I just think it could be good for us," she continued, her tone unnervingly smooth. Keep things exciting. Strengthen our bond." I set my glass down. My pulse pounded in my ears. "Who is he?" I asked. A flicker of something, annoyance, maybe, crossed her face. "Don't be dramatic," she scoffed. "This isn't about anyone. It's about us." Bullshit. Emily was many things, manipulative, selfish, a pathological liar when it suited her, but she was not subtle. This wasn't some spontaneous epiphany about modern relationships. This was her trying to rewrite the rules after she'd already broken them. "How long?" I pressed. "How long what? How long have you been seeing him?" Her jaw tightened. For a second, I thought she'd try to deny it, but then she smiled, an infuriating, smug little smirk. "Why do you always assume the worst?" she asked, tilting her head. I felt my stomach twist. That smile confirmed everything. "Because I knew." She sighed dramatically and turned away, walking toward the fridge like she was bored of the conversation. "You're overreacting. I'm trying to have a mature discussion, and you're making it weird." I took a step closer, lowering my voice. "You're already sleeping with him, aren't you?" She hesitated for half a second, just long enough for me to see the truth before she rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, you're so paranoid." She grabbed a water bottle and twisted off the cap. "Look, if you don't want to try it, fine. But I thought you'd be open-minded." Guess I was wrong. I stared at her, my pulse hammering. Open-minded? That was her angle? She wasn't even denying it anymore. She was reframing the whole thing, making it sound like I was the one with the problem. "So that's it?" I asked, voice dangerously calm. "You just throw this at me like it's a new dinner recipe and expect me to be on board?" Emily took a sip of water, completely unbothered. "I expected you to at least consider it," she said, shrugging. I exhaled slowly, my hands clenched at my sides. This wasn't a conversation. This was an announcement. She had already made her choice. And in that moment, standing there in our kitchen with her looking at me like I was some relic of an outdated era, I knew one thing for sure. This marriage was already over. Silence settled between us, heavy and suffocating. Emily stood there, sipping her water like she hadn't just set a bomb in the middle of our marriage. I wasn't stupid. I knew exactly what was happening. This wasn't about strengthening our bond or keeping things exciting. She had already crossed the line, probably multiple times, and now she was trying to drag me into the mess so she wouldn't have to feel guilty about it. But I wasn't about to let her twist this around. "All right," I said finally, my voice unnervingly calm. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "All right?" "Yeah," I nodded, taking a slow step toward her. "Let's have an open relationship." She blinked, clearly not expecting that. "Wait, really?" "Yeah. But if we're doing this, let's be fair about it. You get to see other people, I get to see other people. That's how it works, right?" A flicker of something crossed her face. Panic? Annoyance? Maybe both. "Well, yeah," she said carefully. "I mean, we'd have to set boundaries, of course." Of course, I nodded. Like honesty. No sneaking around, no lying. If we're seeing other people, we should both know about it. Emily's grip on her water bottle tightened. "I mean, I don't think we have to share every detail," she said lightly, but there was a tension in her voice now. She didn't expect me to agree. She thought I'd be devastated, beg her to reconsider, maybe even cry about it. But now, faced with the idea of me being with other women, she was suddenly uncomfortable. I decided to push further. Actually, I continued, grabbing my phone off the counter. This could be fun. Since we're being honest now, how about we both download a dating app? Right now. Together. Her eyes widened slightly. What? Right now? She laughed nervously. That's a little fast. Don't you think? Why? I shrugged. You clearly already have someone. Why should I wait? Her jaw clenched, and for the first time, I saw something slip in her expression. Guilt? No, frustration. She didn't like that I was playing along. She wanted control. This isn't a competition, she said, crossing her arms. I just wanted us to talk about it first. Talk about it? Emily, you didn't bring this up for discussion. You made a decision. You just expected me to roll over and accept it. She let out an exaggerated sigh. See, this is why I didn't bring it up sooner. I knew you'd freak out. I laughed. Actually laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. You think this is me freaking out? I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Trust me, Emily. You haven't seen me freak out yet. She swallowed, looking away. I could see her brain scrambling, trying to figure out her next move. And then, like clockwork, she flipped the script. You know what? She said suddenly, her voice taking on that wounded, self-righteous tone she used when she wanted to make herself the victim. Forget it. I thought you were mature enough to handle this, but clearly I was wrong. Mature enough? I repeated, my hands clenching at my sides. Yeah, she huffed. I wanted to be honest with you. I wanted us to grow together. But instead, you're just trying to punish me. Punish her. Unbelievable. I stared at her, feeling something inside me snap. The woman I had loved, the woman I had built a life with, was standing in front of me, twisting the knife she had just buried in my back. And she had the audacity to act like she was the victim. I took a deep breath, forcing my voice to stay even. Just answer me one thing, Emily. She crossed her arms. What? His name. Her expression faltered for half a second. Barely noticeable. But I saw it. And in that moment I knew. Emily hesitated just for a moment, but it was enough. Her lips parted slightly. Her eyes darted to the side. And in that single second, she confirmed everything I needed to know. His name, I repeated, stepping closer. My voice was calm, but my hands clenched into fists at my sides. She scoffed, rolling her eyes. Oh my God. You're being ridiculous. There is no him. I told you this was just an idea. I didn't blink. Say his name, Emily. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. And just like that, I had her. A normal, innocent person would have immediately denied it. They would have looked me in the eye and said, there's no one, I swear. But Emily? She hesitated, because she was trying to decide whether to lie or tell the truth. And Emily? She was awful at lying under pressure. I turned away, shaking my head with a sharp laugh. Wow, what? She snapped, defensive now. You're seriously making something out of nothing. I pulled in a slow breath, gripping the edge of the counter. I needed to stay in control. You're a bad liar, Emily. I turned back to face her, tilting my head. But go on. Entertain me. Tell me again how there's no one else. Her eyes narrowed. I don't have to prove anything to you. And there it was, the final nail in the coffin. I smiled, but there was no humor in it. You don't have to, I agreed. Because I already know. She crossed her arms. Oh yeah? Then who is it, Sherlock? A challenge. She still thought she could bluff her way out. So I dropped the hammer. Is it Ryan? The reaction was instant. Too instant. Emily flinched. She flinched. And just like that, the ground beneath our marriage cracked wide open. She recovered fast. Too fast. But I had already seen it. That half second of pure, naked panic. Excuse me? She said, trying to play it cool. But her voice was a fraction too high. Ryan, I repeated, leaning against the counter. Your gym buddy? Your old friend from work? The guy who magically started texting you at all hours of the night? She laughed, shaking her head. But now I could see the cracks forming in her facade. You're insane, she muttered, turning away. You know that, right? Completely insane. Am I? I said casually, taking my phone out. Because I've been paying attention, Emily. And guess what? I know more than you think. I saw her shoulders stiffen. I pulled up a screenshot. A screenshot from her phone. Ryan, when can I see you again? Emily, soon. He's been suspicious lately, but don't worry. Her body went rigid. I watched as her entire world shattered. She turned slowly, eyes locked on my screen. Where did you get that? She whispered. I smiled, flipping the phone around. You should really change your iCloud password, babe. Her face drained of color. For the first time in this entire conversation, she had nothing to say. And for the first time in years, I had all the power. The kitchen felt smaller, like the walls had moved in. I watched Emily's face shift. Panic, anger, calculation. She was scrambling, trying to find an escape route, but there wasn't one. Not anymore. You went through my phone? She hissed, latching onto the only thing she could. I almost laughed. Of course. She wasn't sorry about what she did. She was just pissed she got caught. That's what you're focusing on? I asked, shaking my head. Not the fact that you're sneaking around with Ryan? Not the fact that you were planning to keep lying to me? She folded her arms, a defensive wall going up. That's private. My conversations are my business. Not when they involve my marriage, I shot back. Her eyes flickered toward the door, like she was debating whether to just walk out. But she wasn't going anywhere. Not until I got the truth. How long? I demanded. How long, Emily? Her jaw tightened. A few months, she muttered. I exhaled sharply, gripping the counter so hard my knuckles turned white. Months. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Ryan. The guy she swore was just a friend. The guy she only saw at the gym. The guy whose name popped up on her phone at midnight when she thought I wasn't looking. And for months, she had been lying to my face. I felt something break inside me. You let me sit here like an idiot, I said slowly, while you snuck around behind my back. It wasn't like that, she snapped. I never meant for it to happen. Oh, spare me, I cut in. You don't accidentally cheat, Emily. You don't just fall into someone else's bed. You made a choice, over and over again. Her face twisted in frustration. You think I wanted this? She shot back. You think I planned this? I think you enjoyed every second of it, I said coldly. Right up until you got caught. She scoffed, rolling her eyes. God, you're so dramatic. This is exactly why I didn't tell you. Because I knew you'd act like this. I laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. You didn't tell me because you wanted to keep doing it, I said. You wanted to have your little side fling and keep me as backup. She didn't answer. Because we both knew I was right. I stepped closer, my voice dropping. Tell me something, Emily. She shifted uncomfortably. Did you ever plan on stopping? A pause. A hesitation. And then the final betrayal. She smirked. Would it matter? She said, tilting her head. Would you have even known? I felt the knife twist in my gut. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She was looking at me like I was pathetic, like I was the fool for trusting her in the first place. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't the woman I married. This was a stranger. A cold, calculating stranger who had never loved me the way I loved her. Something inside me went ice cold. Get out, I said. Emily blinked. What? You heard me, I said, stepping back. Pack your shit and get out of my house. Her mouth opened, maybe to argue, maybe to manipulate, but I was done listening. You wanted an open relationship? I said, voice low. Congratulations, Emily. Now you're single. For the first time all night, she looked scared. Emily didn't move. She just stood there, mouth slightly open, blinking like she had misheard me, like she still had control. You're not serious, she scoffed. I folded my arms. Try me. Her eyebrows pulled together. I could see it happening, the gears in her head turning, scrambling for a way out. Emily had spent years perfecting the art of manipulation. She didn't argue when she could guilt trip. She didn't yell when she could twist words. She never admitted fault when she could make me feel like the villain instead. But this time, she had no leverage. You're overreacting. She tried, her voice taking on that fake, exasperated tone. Look, I messed up. Okay? But you're acting like I murdered someone. I stared at her. Unbelievable. You didn't just mess up, Emily, I said coldly. You planned it. You lied. For months. And now that you've been caught, all you can do is roll your eyes like I'm the one being unreasonable? She shifted her weight, crossing her arms tighter. I was honest with you, she said. I barked out a laugh. Honest? You told me after I found the proof. That's not honesty, that's damage control. She let out a sharp breath, looking away. I don't know what you want me to say, she muttered. You act like I'm some kind of monster, but I was just, I don't know, I felt trapped. I needed something different. There it was. The confession. So you went to Ryan, I said, my voice like ice. She hesitated just for a second, then gave a small, indifferent shrug. It just happened, she mumbled. It just happened. As if she had tripped and fallen into his arms. As if she hadn't chosen this. As if she hadn't sent those texts, arranged those meetings, found excuses to be busy, while I sat at home thinking she was out with friends. I let out a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Pack your things, I said again. Emily tensed. You're really kicking me out? I nodded. That's when her mask cracked. No, she said firmly. This is my home too. Not anymore. She took a step closer, her tone sharp now. I have rights, you know. You can't just tell me to leave. I smiled, cold, bitter. That's where you're wrong. I turned, grabbed my phone, and started scrolling. What are you doing? She demanded. Calling Ryan, I said smoothly. Since you need something different, I'm sure he'd be happy to offer you a place to stay. Her face flashed with panic. Good. You wouldn't, she said, voice low. I raised an eyebrow. Why not? He's your something different, right? She opened her mouth, then shut it again. Because we both knew the truth. Ryan was never going to leave his life for her. To him, she was just a fun distraction, a temporary thrill. The second she showed up at his door with her bags, he'd be looking for the exit. And Emily? She knew it. She swallowed hard. Let's talk about this, okay? We don't have to do anything drastic. Drastic? I shook my head, letting out a sharp breath. Emily, we're past talking. You made your choice. Now live with it. Her jaw clenched, and I saw the moment she realized she had lost. Her eyes darted around the room, like she was trying to find something, anything, that could flip this back in her favor. But there was nothing left. So she did what she always did when things didn't go her way. She got nasty. You're pathetic. She spat suddenly, her voice dripping with venom. I smiled. There she was, the real Emily. If I'm so pathetic, why were you so scared of losing me? I asked smoothly, her face twisted in anger. You think you're punishing me? She sneered. You're doing me a favor. I was bored of this marriage anyway. I shrugged. Then why are you still standing here? That shut her up. She glared at me, breathing hard, fists clenched. But she knew she had lost. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Emily stood there, shoulders tense, fists clenched, breathing hard like she had just run a marathon. But she wasn't leaving. She was stalling. I could see the war inside her. She didn't want to stay, not really. The fun of sneaking around was gone. And now she was just left with the wreckage. But leaving meant facing reality. Leaving meant walking out of this house and realizing she had just lost everything. I took a step back, arms crossed. What's the problem, Emily? I thought this was what you wanted. She let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Oh, you're enjoying this, aren't you? I tilted my head. Enjoying it? No. But watching you realize you screwed yourself over? That's a different story. Her eyes flashed. You're such a... She cut herself off, shaking her head. God, I wasted so much time on you. I raised an eyebrow. That's funny. Pretty sure you weren't complaining when you were using my money, living in my house, driving the car I helped pay for. Her jaw clenched. Got her. You act like you're such a saint, she snapped. Like you didn't do anything wrong in this marriage. I let out a short laugh. Oh please, do not try to both sides this, Emily. I wasn't the one sneaking around for months. I wasn't the one texting another person while lying to my spouse's face. And I sure as hell wasn't the one trying to rewrite the rules after already breaking them. She sucked in a sharp breath, furious now. Good. I watched her scramble for one last weapon, something, anything, she could throw at me. And then, suddenly, her face shifted. The anger disappeared, replaced with something calculated. You know what? She said slowly, crossing her arms. Fine, I'll leave. But don't expect this to be over. I frowned. What the hell does that mean? She smiled. A slow, dangerous smile. It means I'm not walking away with nothing, she said. You think you can just kick me out and move on? You think I'm gonna let you humiliate me like this? There it was. Emily never accepted defeat. She never walked away without getting something. And now, backed into a corner, she was reaching for the only thing she had left: leverage. You want a divorce? She continued. Fine. But I hope you're ready to pay for it. I narrowed my eyes. Are you threatening me? She shrugged. I'm saying I have options. I laughed. Actually laughed. Emily, what exactly do you think you're going to get? I asked. You don't have a job. You don't own this house. We don't have kids. What leg do you think you're standing on? She faltered. For just a second. But then she recovered, lifting her chin. We'll see, she said smugly. You'd be surprised what I can do when I'm pissed off enough. I took a slow step forward, lowering my voice. You know what, Emily? I said, my tone ice cold. I really, truly hope you try. Because if you think I'm going to just sit back and let you take anything else from me after what you did, you're even dumber than I thought. For the first time that night, she looked unsure. I leaned in just slightly. Pack your things. And get out. For a moment, I thought she'd fight back. Thought she'd scream, throw something, maybe even lunge at me. But instead, she just exhaled sharply and turned on her heel. And then, finally, she walked away. Emily stormed down the hallway, her footsteps sharp and angry. I followed, not because I wanted to argue more, but because I needed to see this through. No more chances. No more talking. She was leaving tonight. She threw open the bedroom door so hard it slammed against the wall. She didn't care. She wanted me to know she was furious. Good. I wanted her angry. I wanted her to feel even a fraction of what she had put me through. She yanked open the closet and started pulling clothes off the hangers, shoving them into a suitcase with a speed that was almost manic. Unbelievable, she muttered under her breath. All this time, all these years, and this is how you treat me. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you expect a farewell party? She whirled around, eyes blazing. I expected you to act like a grown man instead of a bitter little what, Emily? I cut her off. A bitter little what? A bitter little husband who just found out his wife was screwing someone else for months? Her nostrils flared. I told you it wasn't just about that. I scoffed. Yeah, I'm sure it was about growth and exploration and whatever other excuse you told yourself while sneaking around behind my back. She turned back to the closet, grabbing more of her things. And then her phone buzzed. We both froze. Slowly, her eyes flicked to the nightstand. I followed her gaze. The screen was face up. A name was there. Ryan. Another message. Another reminder that I had been played for months. A slow smirk curled on my lips. Well, would you look at that? I said, stepping forward. Emily lunged for the phone, but I was faster. I snatched it up and held it just out of her reach. Give it back, she snapped. Why? I taunted, turning the screen toward her. Afraid of what I'll see. She clenched her fists. That's mine. You didn't care about privacy when you were hiding this from me, I pointed out. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to stay calm. She hated when she wasn't in control. Just give me the phone, and I'll go, she said, her voice sickly sweet. I stared at her. Then, without breaking eye contact, I dropped the phone onto the hardwood floor. Emily gasped. The screen shattered. For the first time all night, she lost it. Are you insane? She shrieked. I shrugged. Oops. She dropped to her knees, grabbing the broken phone. Her face twisted in rage. You are so Angie pathetic. She spat, standing up. You think this makes you look strong? It just proves how weak you are. I smirked. And yet, I'm the one who's still standing while you're the one packing your bags. Her nostrils flared. Screw you. Oh, trust me, Emily, I said coolly. You already did that to me. Repeatedly. With Ryan. Her hands shook. Not with fear, with pure, unfiltered rage. And then, just like that, the fight drained out of her. She turned away, grabbed the half-packed suitcase, and yanked it off the bed. You're gonna regret this, she muttered. I chuckled. Doubt it. She stormed past me, dragging her bag behind her. I followed, watching as she stomped to the front door, threw it open, and turned back one last time. You'll miss me, she said. I smiled. Not even for a second. Then, without another word, Emily was gone. The door slammed behind her, and just like that, silence. No more arguing. No more gaslighting. No more fake apologies or smug smirks. Just silence. I stood there for a moment, staring at the door, half expecting her to burst back in with one last insult, one last attempt to claw her way back into control. But she didn't, because it was over. My hands unclenched. I hadn't even realized how tightly I had been gripping the edge of the counter. My whole body felt like a coiled spring, ready to snap. And then, as the adrenaline started to wear off, the weight of everything hit me. I looked around the house, our house, and for the first time it felt empty. Not because she was gone, but because everything I thought we had was a lie. I walked back into the kitchen, reaching for my drink, the one I had made before she had dropped that bombshell about the open relationship. I downed it in one go, the burn doing nothing to numb the storm in my chest. My eyes landed on her phone, still lying on the bedroom floor, shattered. I knew exactly what I'd find if I picked it up. Messages, lies, plans made in secret, proof that I had been the fool for far too long. I should have felt anger, or relief, or something, but all I felt was hollow. I sank onto the couch, staring at nothing. The memories came fast and brutal. All the time she had looked me in the eyes and lied to my face. It's just a gym session, babe. Ryan? Oh, he's just a friend. You're imagining things. I clenched my jaw. I wasn't imagining anything. I had been right all along. And instead of admitting it, she had tried to manipulate me into accepting it. I grabbed my phone and opened our old messages. I scrolled through months of fake I love yous and casual check-ins. My stomach twisted as I realized how easily she had balanced two lives at once. And then, without hesitation, I deleted every single one. Every text, every photo, every reminder of her existence in my life. She had already erased me the moment she let Ryan touch her. It was only fair I did the same. A knock at the door snapped me out of it. For a second, my pulse spiked. Was she back? I stood up, walked over, and yanked it open, ready for round two. But it wasn't Emily. It was Ryan, and he looked terrified. Ryan stood there, shifting from foot to foot like a kid about to confess to breaking a window. His eyes darted past me, like he expected Emily to be standing behind me, smirking. Where is she? He asked, his voice tight. I let out a sharp laugh, leaning against the doorframe. Oh, this is rich. You snake your way into my marriage, and now you're here, what? Checking in on her? Ryan swallowed hard. He was nervous. Good. He should be. I didn't come here to start anything, he muttered. No? Then what the hell are you doing on my porch? Ryan? I crossed my arms. He let out a breath, rubbing the back of his neck. Guilty. He looked guilty as hell. Look, man, he said, avoiding my gaze. I didn't know she was going to tell you. I barked out a laugh. Oh, that's what you're worried about? That she told me? Not that you were screwing another man's wife? He flinched. His mouth opened, then shut again. She made it sound like things were already over between you two, he tried. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought my teeth might crack. Oh, did she? And that sounded believable to you? That's your excuse? He had the nerve to look ashamed. But I wasn't interested in his regret. Let me guess, I said coldly. You thought this was just some fun side thing? Huh? No consequences. Just a little fling with a married woman. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. I had him. And now, I continued, stepping forward. Emily's at your doorstep. Isn't she? His head snapped up. Bullseye. Oh wow, I said mockingly. That's why you're here. She showed up at your place, didn't she? Bags in hand. And you realized she's not just a secret anymore. She's a problem. Ryan took a deep breath. I didn't sign up for this, he muttered. I laughed, shaking my head. Oh, buddy, you absolutely did. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw the panic in his eyes. He had been fine sneaking around when Emily was just a thrill. But now? Now she was clinging to him like a sinking ship, and he realized he wasn't strong enough to hold her. What do you want me to do? He asked, voice low. I leaned in, my voice like steel. I want you to take responsibility for what you did. His throat bobbed. You broke something that wasn't yours to break, I said, voice razor sharp. And now you get to deal with the mess. He exhaled, looking like he was about to be sick. You don't get to run from this, Ryan, I said. She picked you. You won. Congratulations. Now go clean up your prize. Ryan swallowed, nodded stiffly, and turned. I watched him walk back to his car, shoulders hunched, his whole world crashing down. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I smiled. Ryan's car peeled out of my driveway, disappearing into the night. I stood there for a moment, letting the cool air settle over me, breathing in the silence. It was over. I stepped back inside, locking the door behind me. The house felt different, lighter, like it had been cleansed of something rotten. I walked into the bedroom, our bedroom, though now it was just mine. The closet was half empty, Emily's drawers left open, hangers scattered across the floor. She had packed in a frenzy, probably hoping to keep the upper hand even as she lost everything. But she had no upper hand anymore. I sat on the edge of the bed, running a hand through my hair. My body was exhausted, but my mind was racing. The last 24 hours had burned through every emotion I had. Rage, betrayal, satisfaction, and something else I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. My phone buzzed. For a split second I thought it might be her. But no, Emily wouldn't reach out first. She was too proud for that. She'd wait, hoping I'd cave, hoping I'd send some pathetic, last-minute message asking her to come back. She'd die waiting. I checked the screen. It wasn't her. It was Ryan. I frowned but opened the message. Ryan, she's losing it. She's screaming at me right now. Said I tricked her into this. I can't do this, man. She won't leave. I laughed out loud. Oh, how the tables had turned. Me? Tricking her? Emily had spent months lying, manipulating, rewriting reality to fit whatever story made her feel good about herself. And now, when faced with the consequences, she was cracking under pressure. Good. Let her break. I typed back. Me, not my problem. She's all yours now. I didn't wait for a reply. I blocked his number. Emily had made her choice. She had thrown away our life for a man who never wanted her beyond stolen moments and cheap thrills. Now she was his problem. I got up, grabbed a trash bag, and started erasing her. Every photo, every stupid little note she had left on the fridge, the candle she insisted on lighting every night, the extra toothbrush in the bathroom, gone. By the time I was done, it was like she had never been here at all. I stood in the middle of the room, looking around. Empty but mine. I poured myself a drink, sat on the couch, and exhaled deeply. For the first time in years, I felt free. And as I took the first sip, I smiled. Because somewhere across town, Emily was realizing what I had known from the moment she asked for an open relationship. She had lost everything.